What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help y'all on your fitness journey. And today's episode is kind of like got me super fired up. It started with me actually listening to the Savon podcast over the weekend. Absolutely love listening to the Savon podcast, all of the stuff that he puts out there, and also love listening to the other spinoffs that have now come from the original. In fact, I loved the original when it was Matt and Savon and Josh Bridges, but that was back in the day before, Anyways, so there was a recent episode that he put out, and it was Taylor and Tanner Shuck, who is not in the CrossFit space, but actually used to be in the CrossFit space. But somebody else that I follow on Instagram has kind of a very tough love approach to helping people get healthier. And I 100% love it. I think it's something that a lot of people don't put out there because they honestly feel bad, but he definitely has a no BS approach to telling you like it is, like this is what needs to change. And there was a lot of debate, and it got me fired up. And I was like listening to this episode, I'm like, oh my God, I would love to be in a room with these two guys and be able to just have a conversation. But obviously I'm just Cheryl Nassau, who am I? But I do want to provide some of my own thoughts on this episode because I know a lot of my listeners also listen to the Savon podcast and probably also caught this, and it can be confusing. And if you're somebody out there, well, let me just go back. So that was the first thing that sparked it. And then the second thing that really sparked this episode for me is I'm getting a lot of clients and people coming to me for advice regarding CrossFit and whether or not they should be doing CrossFit because of their hormones or their perimenopausal or their menopausal or their cortisol levels. And it's just and then I'm seeing a lot of influencers in the space, that are athletes that are talking about how they had to stop doing so much high intensity training. And I just feel like there's so many misconceptions about CrossFit, and things are being taken out of context and applied generally when we have to look at them subjectively at what kind of a person we're talking to. And so all of this really got me fired up to just put an episode out there giving you guys my thoughts on everything. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to start with the comment that, well, let me just start with the whole, is CrossFit bad for you, the hormones? Because that's really the first thing that I want to talk about before even going into today's episode. And the reason I want to say that is because if you're listening to this and you get into the weeds here, I want to start by giving you that first and foremost. If you're somebody out there that thinks that or is being told that CrossFit is bad for you because you're menopausal or perimenopausal or you're aging, I want you to look at the masters athletes that are 60 plus, 65 plus. In fact, I just left a CrossFit gym and I was asking some of the women there that are over 50, some of them in their 60s, how long have you been doing CrossFit for? Have you still been making strength gains? How are you feeling? They're all excelling, So I think that we have to look at when a CrossFit Games athlete is talking about how they're having to slow down the intensity and just do these things. They're also going from training 4 to 6 hours a day, putting all of their life on hold for CrossFit, killing themselves every day for that, versus going to a 1-hour CrossFit class. Very different case scenarios. You cannot apply that what's the word I'm looking for, that advice to yourself. However, you can apply the fact that you should be listening to your body. Anyways, that's what I'm going to say. And that people need to understand how to moderate things. And that's going to kind of go into today's episode. So it's that's why I'm you know what? I just want to do an episode talking about this. And I'm going to start by actually pulling up the comment that sparked the whole debate between Tanner and Taylor. And I think it was the actual episode, not the comment, but there was an episode put out there. And so I want to just kind of see if I can't get this to play really quick. I'm so bad with technology. So I'm probably already being judged right now for this, but that's okay. I don't care. We're going to go with this. Let me see if I can get this to... Okay, here we go. This was it.
CrossFit training is not training. CrossFit training is, now it's high intensity exercise, but you cannot constantly vary a training modality and predictably make increases in the expression of that training modality.
I couldn't say that any better. And that's coming from a CrossFitter. And I was an elite CrossFitter. I still do some CrossFit, but CrossFit training in its purest sense is overrated, cannot be constantly varied, and you cannot expect to get stronger, fitter, or better at anything if you're constantly changing what you're doing. If you're going to do anything, just get stronger. That's what you need to do.
CrossFit training.
Okay. So stop sharing. Let me go back to my episode here. So that was essentially the episode, or the thing that just sparked the episode. That was the comment. And where I feel like the whole episode kind of just went in so many different directions is, it started to becoming, it was no longer directed at addressing that comment. And we started to go down the rabbit holes of like the obesity epidemic and this and that. And so I want to start by saying that first and foremost, this is being pulled off of a strength podcast. Mark Repetto is primarily a strength athlete. He is not the pinnacle of health. And that is clearly stated in the episode with Tanner and Taylor, that like goal is like get people stronger. And absolutely right. If you want to get really fucking strong, then you should be strength training. Like if that is your sport and you are trying to train for sport, then that is what you should be doing. However, saying that you can't get stronger with CrossFit is also not true. In fact, I feel like the biggest problem with this is not understanding CrossFit methodology and the way CrossFit programming is meant to work. And a lot of that stuff is because the affiliate model allows for individual gyms to program on their own, and people are being exposed to CrossFit, but not the same programming. So it's again, the episode ends up going down a spiraling of different things, but it brought some really good topics to the table that I was like, just so fired up to chime in on and hear the opinions of. I'm going to pull up a couple of notes that I have just to kind of start off. So first and foremost, like Tanner's biggest argument, which he says there, is like, just get stronger. And at the end of the day, he is so right. And I also think that the goal of CrossFit is to get people stronger. It's just not just doing strength training. He is 100% right that if you are not strength training, you are going to be sick. If you're on a fat loss journey and you're losing weight and you're not strength training, you are going to end up sick. You are going to be sarcopenic. You are putting yourself at risk for issues as you get older. Your tendons, your ligaments, and your bones are going to take the brunt of everything that you're moving. And muscle tissue that's longevity. So your body fat percentage, even if you're at a healthy weight, is going to be high. So we want that muscle tissue that makes you more insulin sensitive. There's so many things that muscle tissue does that we should be strength training. But saying you can't get stronger doing CrossFit isn't necessarily true. Okay, so I think that we'll kind of go down that now. And here's where Taylor kind of takes things a little bit different, is he starts to talk about the fact that just getting stronger isn't the cure to the obesity epidemic. And, and Taylor is saying that like, you don't have to do CrossFit in order to cure the obesity epidemic. You don't have to do that. They go down the rabbit hole of these two things. And I think the main thing here is that we need to be understanding the context. Like I said, are we looking to get stronger and fitter for life, or are we looking to get as strong as possible? And perfect case scenario, if there were two police officers and one of them trains CrossFit and a good CrossFit program, they're lifting, they're running, they're biking, they're doing some kind of whatever bodyweight gymnastics movements, versus one that's hitting the Globo gym and they're just doing some Smith machine squats and leg presses and some hammer curls, and they're not doing any cardio, which police officer do I want to try? Who am I going to look for to save my life? I'm going to want the guy that's been doing CrossFit, because he likely is going to be faster. He's going to be a little bit more resilient to things, right? So it's really looking at what is the actual overall goal. Okay, getting somebody as strong as possible. Powerlifters aren't the pinnacle of health. And I think that Taylor goes down the argument that like, just getting stronger isn't going to get people healthier. And he's absolutely right. Just lifting weights is not going to make you healthier. But saying that you have to do CrossFit in order to do that is also not true. A lot of people can get stronger and fitter and healthier by lifting weights, which is what I think what Tanner is saying, is that you don't have to do that in order to get stronger and fitter. Lifting weights, also doing some conditioning. And I think that this is where it's like, CrossFit really is everything. Like, you can consider anything CrossFit. That's like the beauty of it. It encompasses everything. Like, you go to the CrossFit games, they're doing triathlons, they're doing cyclocross, they're doing gymnastics, they're doing heavy lifting, they're doing all these different things, right? So like CrossFit really is everything. Anyways, so here is kind of where I want to give my opinion on this whole thing. Okay, so the debate really is like, I guess the debate that this whole thing spirals into is it got so far away from CrossFit not being a good method to getting stronger into, is CrossFit the best program for people in terms of getting fitter, healthier, and I guess like, weight loss. Obesity epidemic is what was brought up, and talking about the unhealthy people in the world. Okay, here is my opinion on everything, and I'm going to kind of give you guys my 2 cents on CrossFit as a program, whether or not you should or should not be doing CrossFit, and kind of giving you my opinion that I think both of them are right in different ways. But I think it comes down to the fact that if you like doing CrossFit, you should keep doing CrossFit. But there's a couple of things that you have to consider. So first and foremost, well-programmed CrossFit will get you stronger and fitter. There is no denying that. I'm sorry. I don't care what people say. If you are following a well-designed CrossFit program, you are going to get fitter, stronger, and healthier. However, I do think that there are some components of CrossFit that can be very intimidating and unnecessary. And if you're not at a gym where you feel like those movements can be progressed down to a level that's going to give you the right stimulus and allow you to get the right workout in, that might not be the right thing for you. So some gyms, for instance, program very competitively without the beginners in mind. And I get it. We should be programming for the highest level athlete in there, but we need to have coaching and education on why, like for instance, I fucking hate the words RX and scaled. I'll be honest, I like CrossFit. I think that looking at people looking at that, like, here is like the base and we want to be able to tweak up and down is more important, because RX and scaled already gives people a feeling like they're not doing something as good as other people in the class. And that is not the goal. I think that that's also where the problems comes in with CrossFit, is everybody is so competitive with everything. And there are people that need to be competitive in CrossFit, primarily those that want to compete in CrossFit. But if you don't want to compete in CrossFit, you can do CrossFit and get really freaking strong and fit. Like, I think that even looking back at when CrossFit first started, Greg Glassman wasn't programming CrossFit workouts in mind with like competing with each other. He was having people write their scores down and their weights because he wanted to see them progress over time. So going back to the argument that CrossFit isn't progressive, the foundation of CrossFit was keeping track of metrics so we could see how programming was changing and bring things up over time. But this whole RX and scaled thing came in, and now people go to the gym and they're like, I'm always scaled, blah, 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 blah. Like, we got to throw the scaled shit out the window and educate people that this is like the standard where you want to be. And where you're at on that is based on your fitness level to get the same stimulus, whether it's the time domain, whether it's the right number of reps in a row, whether it's the right number of rounds, or whatever it is, you should be doing that. Okay. So that's number one, is that needs to be a main thing. And part two is like I mentioned, the coaching. You have to be coaching people. And this is part of the problem with the group model of CrossFit, is because, and I'm going to talk about this in personal training as well, but not all CrossFit coaches are created equal, but neither are all personal trainers, right? Like, so there are some really, really, really good CrossFit coaches out there. There's also some really shitty ones. You ever been to a CrossFit class where the guy is like on his phone the entire time, not even looking at the people? And maybe you're a good athlete, but the person next to you has no idea what she's doing, right? So like, the coaching that you're getting matters. I will say that in a CrossFit gym, a well-run CrossFit gym, you are likely going to get good coaching, much better than you would get from a personal trainer. Because on the other side of things, you go to a Globo gym and you get personal trainers that are literally just counting your reps. 1, 2, 3, come on, one more. Okay. We need to realize that like coaching is about teaching people how to move better in the gym, how to get the right stimulus. Okay. If it says 21 reps, helping them choose the right weight to get those 21 reps unbroken. Like that's the stuff that we're looking for. By the way, like talking about measurable progress and strength, think about like a workout like Fran. Maybe when you first started CrossFit, you couldn't even do Fran with a 35-pound barbell. And now you're doing it as prescribed. Like that's strength gains, right? Like that's strength endurance. So it's really important to look at that. Now, you don't have to do CrossFit to get stronger and fitter. Okay. So like Tanner's saying is like, you don't have to do CrossFit. In fact, here's where I'm going to be honest. If you're at a CrossFit gym where they're just doing boot camp style workouts, everything is randomly programmed and thrown together, like you might need to do your own programming. And this happens to me a lot. I see clients that come to me and I'm like, I hate to tell you this, but your programming is kind of not good. Like, how would you feel about doing something a little bit different? And it sucks that you have to tell people that, like, but sometimes they need something a little bit different. And this also goes down to like looking at training age, how long a person's been working out for, so a beginner coming into a CrossFit class, just doing a CrossFit Metcon a day, just getting started. Yeah, that's going to create a ton of results. It's going to get them stronger and fitter. Because they're going from nothing to something. But after you've been doing that for a little while, you're going to have to probably change some things up. And as a CrossFit athlete, well, let me just tell you this, not even just as an athlete, but anybody that's been training a long period of time, I think that volume tolerance is a sign of fitness. So when you first started CrossFit and you could only do like 1 5-minute workout and you'd be done, and now your recovery is so good that like that doesn't hurt you the way it used to, like that's also a sign of fitness. Your recovery is getting better. So that's all good stuff. So I just think that there's so many things like this episode just really got me fired up for. I just had a tangent when I thought about that too, when I was talking about the fact that training age, let me just, because I know it's something that I wanted to mention. Training age, volume. Like I said, I have some notes, but I just was really fired up to talk about this episode. Oh my God, what just came to my mind when I said that? I'm going to remember in a second. I know I'm going to remember. Okay. But the main thing that I want you guys to get out of this is that CrossFit is a good program when well programmed. I think the problem comes into the fact that not all CrossFit gyms are created equal. Not all CrossFit coaches are created equal, but the same thing goes in any program you're going into, whether it's, and I'll say this, any program that allows for individuals to program for the program, for the classes. I think like the F45s, the Orange Theories are a completely different animal. They're like a completely different program. Those programs are designed just to burn calories, which is the other thing, is like there's a difference between training with a specific goal of health and fitness versus training just to burn calories. I think my computer just got unplugged. 1 second. And that was also something that was brought up in the episode. And I do think that, and this is what I'm going to go into that really got me fired up, because I feel like this is the biggest missing piece that neither of them really addressed. Okay. And I feel very passionate about this. And I think that they both agree with me, but they didn't say it. And this is the problem. Okay. In the gym, whatever program you're following, whether it's CrossFit, we're not going to call it like, or we're not going to go down the rabbit hole like Orange Theory or the booty boot camps and all that shit. Okay. In the gym, okay, whatever your goals are, your goal should be to improve your fitness, your strength, your endurance. You are literally doing those things. CrossFit, essentially, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, was designed as a way to get the most bang for your buck. And I think Taylor even mentions this, that it was, meant to be like a minimalist approach, the minimum effective dose. Like, can we get more work done faster to be able to fit training into our life without it becoming a huge piece of our life? If you go to a regular gym or bodybuilders, they're in the gym for 2 hours plus a day. Now, most CrossFit athletes now are, but that's because it's sport specific. But the goal of CrossFit was a minimalist approach to fitness. And you could get in and get out and be good with your day. Like, so for instance, if I go to the gym and I'm doing 5 sets of 10 squat to press, I'm not going to call it a thruster because I did CrossFit before I did CrossFit. Versus if I do a workout like Fran, 21-15-9, thrusters and pull-ups, I'm getting double the work done and I'm going for time. So I'm getting it done faster. So will that give me the same strength benefits as the 5x10 if I'm loading it up heavy? Not necessarily, but I'm going to have heavy days built in. I might be working a different skill or a different strength domain, I'll call it. That 21-15-9, that muscular endurance is working muscle hypertrophy, just like when a bodybuilder does like a burnout set, right? Like in your last couple of reps of 21 thrusters, are you not burning everywhere and barely are you going close to failure? Like that's also looking at it. But CrossFit was meant to be a minimalist approach because rather than spending, a lot of time with like mobility and this and that, like the movements we do require full range of motion. So a lot of times just by moving through these full planes, you can cut out the time needed to stretch and mobilize beforehand because you're getting that through active range of motion, so the body weight stuff that we do requires a lot of flexibility. So I just think that CrossFit is a minimalist approach to getting all of that done. We do have heavy days, right? Well-programmed CrossFit. But again, here's the problem. So I'm going to go back to, I think, where this episode ended up taking a turn away from the whole, is CrossFit good for strength programming and how it's not, yada, 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 into what is the best training program to help people that need to lose weight, that are, because, and I made a post about this the other day, guys, it's really sad that over 75% of America is overweight or obese. Like that is a statistic. And it's why being a person that actually cares about your health and fitness sucks when you're the only person at the table who gives a shit. But it's also because you're one of the only people in the world that's going to live a long and healthy life, disease-free. And that's where I feel like this episode really got me fired up because that was what they were both looking to achieve. They both want the same thing for everybody. They want people to be fit and healthy. But the problem here is that they're focusing on the training. Yes, the training matters. Get stronger. Tanner is 100% right. You should be focusing on building muscle. You should also be focusing on your fitness. And he also did not argue that. He just basically said you don't have to do bar muscle ups and snatches and burpees to do that. You can jump on an assault bike. You can run. You can do other things as well. You don't have to do these high skill movements, which is also right. But if you like to learn those kinds of things, do CrossFit because it makes it a little bit more fun. However, and this is the biggest problem, and it is a part of CrossFit, it is actually at the base of the CrossFit hierarchy, is if we're talking about getting people to lose weight, optimizing their health, the training is not the problem. Yes, they need to be training. The problem is their nutrition and their lifestyle. And this is why I was a CrossFit coach, a healthy CrossFit coach. I never got my level 4 yet because it wasn't out at that time for a lot of years. And I still have my credentials. I eventually would love to own my own CrossFit gym again. I love coaching CrossFit. But I got into the nutrition coaching space because there was a huge divide between what people were doing in the gym and what they were doing outside of the gym. And that's where I felt like I wanted to put myself in the CrossFit space because people were going to the gym people go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week. They hit their workout, but they're not making progress. They're not losing weight. They're not getting stronger. You know why? Because they have no idea what to eat and how to eat, because the nutrition coaching aspect of CrossFit it's not there. It's not there. And even if it is, it's challenges here and there. It's maybe a quick little talk about food quality here and there. Or, it's as simple as, I'll be honest, even the way that Taylor puts it, like, stop eating shitty food. Well, that's great. But you, I'm sure, Taylor, enjoy a burger here and there. And some French fries here and there. Maybe, I don't know if you drink alcohol. I don't drink alcohol either. People don't even know how to do that in moderation because the world has everybody so fucked up about nutrition. And even Tanner's like, just eat protein. Like, I agree with you, Tanner. Like, protein is a very important part of the diet, but people just eating protein and continuing to eat like shitty food, like, also not the solution. And I know you know that because I follow your channel, and Tanner's channel is full of advice about eating healthy foods. But the problem is people have such a fucked up relationship with food, and the nutrition world is so saturated with shit. And CrossFit coaches, it needs to be separated in that it needs to be together, but separated. Okay. Like, because a CrossFit class isn't enough time for that coach to also talk about nutrition. But nutrition is the foundation of fitness, of CrossFit, of the hierarchy of fitness. So you've got to know what to eat, how much to eat, and how to tweak those things for your specific needs. But it's not always that simple, as I said, because people have a fucked up relationship with food. And just telling a person to just eat paleo and never have a cookie again ends up causing them to binge on cookies. And when they cut out all those foods and they go from eating 4,000 calories a day to 1,200 calories a day, their body's like, what the hell did you just do? Like, so the problem really is the education that if our goals right now are to help people get fitter, healthier, and just better in life, they need to train in a way that allows them to build muscle tissue and get fitter, however that is. Fitness and health starts with strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning, like, those two things need to be a part of your programming. Like, I do agree with that. Just lifting weights isn't enough. You need to be doing some form of conditioning. You should be, if you want to survive the zombie apocalypse, you better be able to run from a zombie. That's my opinion. But the nutrition aspect is the key. That's the problem. So whether you're strength training or you're doing CrossFit or you're doing Orange Theory or you're doing jujitsu, whatever it is you're doing, okay, if you're not addressing the nutrition, that's where you need to be putting your work in. And that's my 2 cents, is that was not addressed in this episode. And do I think that CrossFit is a good way to get stronger? Absolutely. So that's how I feel. Let's see what's over in the comments. I see a couple of comments over there. Good morning, guys. So, but yeah. And when it comes to nutrition, it's funny, I just put out an Instagram post today that I will share with y'all real quickly, because I felt it's going to sum things up for y'all. And I'm going to put it up here since I'm trying to be fancy with my share screen if you're watching on YouTube. Let's see. Cheryl Nassa. There I am. All right. Let me fix your nutrition in 10 words. Eat mostly whole foods, weigh portions, and keep a food diary. And you can kind of go back to the 100 words of fitness if you want to. Eat. Oh my God. Eat meat and vegetables. Oh my God. Why did I just forget it? Because I'm on the spot. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm going to remember it. Eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Keep intake to that will support performance and not body fat, essentially. So what is he saying? Eat healthy foods, weigh and measure the amounts, adjust to make sure that you're not gaining body fat or that you're losing body fat if you need to lose body fat. And I do agree with that. I just don't think that removing all carbohydrates is the solution. I think that removing refined carbohydrates and sugar, or minimizing them, is important. But again, it's education that people need on nutrition. And those 10 words that I put out there today are the key, but knowing how to apply them is very different. And that is what I try and teach in with all of my clients that I work with, whether you are a CrossFitter or you are a non-CrossFitter. But I know primarily the CrossFitters that I work with, they just don't know. They don't know where to start. And maybe they know where to start, but they're not really quite sure how to adjust. So anyways, that's what I got for y'all today. Hope you guys are all having a good Tuesday. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this episode. I honestly had planned on playing a couple of the clips from it, but I just felt like I said what I wanted to say. So, and if you are somebody out there that is being told that you shouldn't do CrossFit, or that you're afraid of a CrossFit, make sure that you're give it a shot and make sure that you are actually following the programming philosophy. And if you don't know if you are, I also believe that everybody should get their level 1. Whether you're going to be a coach or not, take the time, get the level 1. And, you know, that was a pivotal moment in my CrossFit journey. I was like, because I was at a gym that was kind of a little bit more boot camp style. And when I went to my level 1, I was like, wow, I see what's missing. Okay. And then a year later, I qualified for the games. So you really need to understand the methodology 100%. And I think that goes with any program that you follow. So if you guys have any other questions about CrossFit, nutrition, anything like that, I am pro CrossFit for sure all the way. I'm always here to offer any kind of advice, any education you guys need. That's what I love doing, primarily on the nutrition aspect of things, but still do love jumping into the CrossFit stuff here and there. So with all that, I'm about to get off and get some rowing done for the day. So Corey, I'm hitting I know Corey, we follow the same programming. I still have a little ankle injury, so I can't run. And there's some running intervals program, but I'm going to do them on the rower, which is not my favorite thing. So we're just going to row today. But if y'all need me, you know where to find me. Talk to y'all soon.